Welcome to the Jaguar Podcast, a show where we discuss all things related to Duval County's finest NFL football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Move 42, set, what?
Duval, baby! Hey, everybody, it's Andrew coming back at you with another episode of the Jaguar Podcast. My guest for this episode is former Chargers and Jaguars running back Natron Means. Natron Means was drafted in 1993 out of the University of North Carolina in the second round by the San Diego Chargers. Natron signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars in 1996. During his 2 years with the Jags, he had 1,330 yards rushing, 22 receptions, and 12 touchdowns. Natron is also the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, and running backs coach at Fayetteville State University. You can follow Natron on Twitter. His Twitter handle is @CoachMeans_20. Give it up for former Jags running back and Fayetteville State assistant head coach, the great Natron Means. All right, we have Natron Means, former Jags running back and Chargers running back. Natron, thanks for taking time to come on the show. Really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So as a Jags fan, one of the games that really sticks out to me is that 96 wildcard game against the Buffalo Bills. You were all over the field. I mean, you had 175 yards rushing, one touchdown, and then the Jags end up, pulling away with a win against Buffalo, and you guys advance in the playoffs. What was your most memorable play from that game?
God Almighty, I remember that game, and it's actually funny that you bring that up. My wife had done some Google searching and showed my kids an appearance that I had done on the Jay Leno show, back when I was with the Chargers and we went to the Super Bowl. Well, after I watched that, I watched some other videos that kind of popped up in the stream, and one of the games that highlighted was the playoff game in Buffalo, and there were just so many plays, not from just myself, but Pete Mitchell had a big play, Jimmy had big plays. Keenan made big plays. Mark, was as usual, his stellar self. But for me, I would imagine it would have to be, it's kind of a toss-up. I had a long run there where I didn't get a touchdown, but then there was a run. There was kind of a lot of broken tackles. I was able to stay on my feet, and I was able to score. So if I have to pick one play from that time, I'd pick that one just because I made it to the end zone. And we ended up winning the game. Yeah,
that was the one where Bruce Smith bounced off of you, tried to take you down in the backfield, and then you kind of looped around and took it to the house. That must have been satisfying.
Oh, yeah, it was good, man. You know what I'm saying? It was obviously exciting in that moment, where we were. Obviously a little bad tackling, by the Bills defense, assisted in that. But, that was an awesome time, awesome game.
Yeah, I think, in addition to that one, for me, it's that 4th and 1, and they give the ball to you, and, you're stopped in the middle there for a second, but then you have this spin move, and I don't know how you were able to do it, but you got the first down, and that was, I believe, that winning drive there.
I don't know. I'm going to have to go do some film research. I haven't seen that. I got to find that one.
Yeah.
You got to send that to me.
Yeah, I will. That 96 Jags team was, they just had an incredible year. I mean, it's the second year they were, a franchise. And, looking back at that, did you know that this team, was going to go far and make it to the playoffs?
You know what? I had no idea, to be honest, because coming into the situation, for me, there was a lot of unknowns. Obviously, it was, the second year of the franchise. When I got there, it was unusual in the sense that, a lot of guys were, getting to know each other. I don't want to say we were a ragtag group, but no better descriptive term comes to mind. But we ended up gelling together. A lot of good guys. There were some veteran guys on that team. We had some great young guys. Baselli, Brackens, Hardy. Those guys came in and became foundational guys for the organization. But when it came to how we ended that season, did I think that at the beginning of the year? I'm going to have to say no. I know for me, at the start of that season, I was dealing with some adversity with a broken thumb and, just trying to, get acclimated to that situation. But it was a good group of guys, man, who cared about each other. We had fun, man. We played hard, on and off the field. And because of that, we were able to win some good games.
Yeah, I mean, it was just incredible what you guys did that year. You mentioned injuries, and I know you fought your fair share of them throughout your career. I'm just kind of curious, as a running back, what was the day after a game like for you in terms of recovery?
You know what? I actually got to experience that in two different segments, if you will. As a rookie, I was a backup running back. I was more of a situational guy. I would have short yardage and goal line carries. And then I would come in and, I would get cleanup duty. So it was mainly, Marion Butts, Ronnie Harmon, Eric Bieniemy. So I was kind of like the third or fourth guy in the rotation my first year in the league. I played a lot of special teams. So I guess I kind of had a false sense of security of what it would actually, be like, to be the guy, to take the majority of the carries. So my offseason of my rookie year, they traded Marion Butts and I ended up being the starter. And I remember, Coach Ross flying out and, come meet me at the airport and, sitting down and talking with him about, what it's going to be like now. It's going to be different being the guy as opposed to the role that I had had the previous year. And, I'm naive, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it. So, we go through camp and we do all that stuff. Preseason games, you get a quarter here, you get a quarter there, right? And then, you play the last preseason game 3 quarters, and it's not a heavy load. But the first game I played, I don't know exactly how many carries that I had, and none of that. But the first game I remember I started, everything seemed fine, and I woke up on Monday morning. I woke up on Monday morning, and I remember I could not raise my head, like physically raise my head to get myself out of bed.
Oh, geez.
When I raised my head to get up, I mean the pain that I felt. I mean, for real, it got to the point where I just had to 1, 2, 3 and roll out of the bed. So it was like that.
Wow.
It was like that for probably the first, my first 2 starts in the NFL, which was different because, again, I'd had that, I guess you'd call it that lapse year, where I was not the guy. But, when I was in college, my senior year in college, well, not my senior year, but my junior year, but because I left school early, but my junior year in college, I was a high rep guy then, workload guy. I mean, there was a 3-game span where I think I had over 100 carries, 38, 37, 35 type of games. And, in college, I remember after games, I would have to go back to my apartment and just like lay down and just like not move for like 4 hours and then just kind of gradually bring myself back. I never had that experience in the NFL where I felt like that immediately after the game. But those first 2 starts, my second year into the NFL, were definitely different.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. But you powered through it, man, and it just had some great plays.
Well, that's the only way.
Yeah. You played for a variety of different coaches. You mentioned Bobby Ross there. Then you came back to San Diego. You played for Mike Riley, and then a short stint in Carolina with George Seifert, and then of course Coughlin. In your opinion, who was the toughest to play for?
toughest?
Like the most strict kind of.
I mean, all of those. I mean, I guess every coach you mentioned, high discipline guy, ran structured programs. Riley was a young coach. I mean, in terms of NFL standards, I think that was his first head job in the NFL. But I think Coach Coughlin automatically comes to mind just because of kind of his persona, kind of the way he carried himself. He carried himself as a strict disciplinarian, which was not, an issue for me, because you always knew where you stood with Coach Coughlin. There was no gray area. I mean, you didn't have to guess. You didn't have to guess. He didn't mix his words. He said what he meant, and I could respect that.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing an interview where you said that he was strict, but he was fair. So, that's what, yeah.
I mean, fair is a relative term. I would say that, the one thing that I, probably respected the most about, Coach Coughlin is that, he was, he treated everybody the same, from the top of the organization to the bottom. I mean, he treated everybody the same. I mean,
yeah.
he was consistent in who he was. There was no doubt about, who Coach Coughlin was. You didn't have those, kind of questions about him. You knew exactly where he, who he was. You knew exactly where he stood. And, I could always respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he had a great career as well, both with the Jaguars and the Giants. And it was just really exciting to watch. So, after Natron, after you retired in 2000, with the Panthers, you transitioned into coaching. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into that?
Well, I wish I would have got into it earlier. It was first presented to me as an opportunity, by Bobby Beathard. Immediately after my last, after they'd actually let me go in San Diego, he asked me, did I ever think about coaching or did I want to coach? And at that time, it wasn't anything that I seriously considered. So, I immediately after I retired, though, I started some youth football in my hometown. Had an organization, had some teams. I coached the young boys, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. Just wanting to have fun, wanting to help some kids, and that kind of really got me going. That tiny light bulb can only stoke the competitive juices for so long. And former teammate of mine, Robert Massey, got the head coaching job at Livingstone College, and he invited me to come up with him. Started there as his running backs coach. Was there for 2 years. I was elevated to offensive coordinator, but we were let go there. So I went back to the high school ranks and coached with some buddies, around here. And then I got out of coaching altogether for a couple of years and started doing positional training. I ran a recruiting service business with another former player, Mo Collins. I started working with a company out of California called Student Sports, and we did, the elite Nike football camp stuff, what you would know today as the opening.
Okay.
I started with those guys in about, around 2010, and actually have been doing that, up until the pandemic. But went back to, high school in 2012 at Hopewell, took a job there as the offensive coordinator and, hit the college ranks in 14 at Winston-Salem State. I was there for 6 years, running back coach, offensive coordinator. And I just, in March of last year, I transitioned over to Fayetteville State University as the associate head coach, offensive coordinator there. So got into coaching, obviously to stay around the game. It's what I know. It's something that I, have always enjoyed. It's good to, give back and to, help these kids any way I can to, share my, experiences, my knowledge of the game and, my experiences within the game and, life in general. just to help these guys and, any way I can along their life journey. So it's been a blessing to me. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy, and something I hope to continue to do, for a while.
Yeah, man, I can, I'm sure you bring just so much great football knowledge and experience to the program, and I think that's a great thing. You just mentioned, you were running backs coach, and you're also offensive coordinator. Just had kind of a question about the NFL right now for you. We're seeing a lot of the offenses in the NFL kind of move away from the traditional smash mouth football, pound the football mindset, going in more into the passing game. And I feel like running backs are kind of evolving into those type of, receivers backs. I was just curious what your thoughts were and if you agreed with that.
I can definitely understand, your point of view. I will give you, my thoughts on it, and we can just kind of let it be what it is. I've always felt that, at the end of the day, no matter how we dress it up, we shift it, we motion it, we spread them out, we do all these things offensively. At the end of the day, I mean, the conclusion of the play is going to end with more times than not with contact and a tackle. Yeah. Right. So, it is and will always be a, physical game. I think that, the evolution of the running back position, I think it's for a while, I guess it's been kind of, circular, right? It's like everything else, right? It's cyclical, the word kind of circular, right? Where, these things go and then they come back in vogue. But, I think that the way the game has developed now, guys are going to have to, guys who play the running back position are going to have to obviously be guys who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who can do all those kind of things, because the offensive minds, right, are, so creative with, what it is that they can do, right, or they deem that they can do with guys who fit their offense. So, guys are going to have to obviously work on and be good at those skill sets to be able to function in those kind of offenses. But at the end of the day, it's a very physical game, and it's always going to be that, in my opinion. So, that element, right, that element is one that, while we can, try and reduce it and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to ensure that players are safe, right, and that the game is safe, physicality is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. And whether it's at the end of that play or it's at the 1 yard line, right? Somebody's going to have to bow the neck and win.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you, like this, how it's, cyclical, and, these different types of play calling kind of change. I mean, we also kind of see a lot more of the wildcat and the read option. I was just wondering, do you think kind of more of the emphasis on passing in the NFL right now, do you think that's more of just because of maybe injuries, or whether it's just more exciting for fans?
Yeah. So I could say that I could see there's probably a little bit of both in that, right? Your intermediate passing game, or getting the ball to the edge, right, has now been has long been, but I guess maybe more so now emphasized as run game. You know what I'm saying? In essence, right? So instead of me tossing the ball to the running back, right, I'm just going to raise up and throw the ball to the slot guy, right? And I'll still get those 4 yards, right? And I reduce the amount of pounding that, has taken place, right? So that philosophy is still, alive and well, and, accomplishes those two things, right? It looks more exciting, right? It's more aesthetically pleasing than, just handing that ball off to a guy, pound, 30 times a game, unless, right, that guy's Derrick Henry, unless that guy's Derrick Henry, now, you don't mind, right? You don't mind sitting there and watching that happen, right? So again, I think it's a philosophical choice in in terms of the offensive mind, right? But I think that your argument definitely adds, carries some weight. It makes a point, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. So what do you want to watch? You want to watch bubble screens all day, or you want to watch Derrick Henry get downhill?
Yeah.
Me, I like Derrick Henry getting downhill.
Yeah. So on a less serious note,
but I love seeing bubble screens to Tyreek.
Yeah.
I'm torn.
Yeah. So Natron, on a less serious note, I wanted to talk about something that I saw on a lot of the highlight reel I was watching on you was Chris Berman's slogan, "Natron means business." I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard it a million times. Do your fellow coaches and players give you a hard time about that?
No, man. Not at all. When I was, it originally, the first nickname I was given was refried means, right? Natron refried means. Like if you listen early on in those clips, like my rookie year, he's calling me refried. But we get to the second year, and I'm kind of rolling, right? This is my Pro Bowl year, so I'm kind of rolling. And we end up getting I think the Sunday night primetime game, right? The Sunday night primetime game. So you know how you go in and you do the little pregame deals with the guys, with Mortensen and all those guys from ESPN, right? They want to get your opinion on the game and, talk about gameplay and all this kind of stuff, right? So I was talking to Mortensen, and I was like, this is like during the week, right? Because I think he got there, a little early. I was like, hey, man, you got to help me out. I said, you got to get word to Berman that, you got to do better than refried means. I was like, come on, man. I was like, you got to do better than refried. So we ended up playing the Chiefs. I had a really good game, scored like 3 touchdowns, 100+ yards rushing. And that game there is when, again, if you listen on the clips, he says, we're done with refried. And he starts the Natron means business. Yeah.
Hey man, he heard you. He took your feedback and he made sure that he did a good job for you. So that's funny.
A lot better with that one. A lot better.
So I want to jump into a little Jags. So I want to talk about James Robinson. He's undrafted free agent out of Illinois State. He had an incredible year for Jacksonville, 1,000 yards rushing. I was just kind of curious what your thoughts were on James Robinson.
I have seen the numbers on James Robinson, have not seen him play enough, to really dissect his game. But, from the, from the view from above, right, just from, what I've seen, he's obviously a talented guy who's, taking advantage of an opportunity, right? It's like one of those, it's one of those validating, as a coach, right? As a coach, you feel good because it's one of those, it's validation of a, foundational principle, right? Preparation, what is it? Luck is like preparation meeting opportunity, or, however that goes, so you love it when you see a guy, who gets a chance, right, and gets an opportunity and, takes advantage of it, And, in terms of him playing, I wouldn't have much to offer, right? But just, from the outside looking in, I mean, you can't help but pull for a guy who comes in, right, undrafted and then does, right, was he the first ever undrafted guy to come in and rush for 1,000 yards? Was that is that a one-time occurrence, or is that a very rare occurrence?
I think it's pretty rare. Yeah.
I would have to imagine now, right? It's what does it look like, sustainability wise? If he's the guy who's gonna, be able to do it, to be able to repeat, that kind of success, now, you're talking about, man. I mean, you talk about hitting the home run in the free agency market.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's done some incredible things, and I'm sure, hopefully Jacksonville takes care of him, but I'm sure he'll have a lot of opportunities waiting for him.
Yeah, and they won't be forced to take care of him anytime soon unless he goes in and blows it out of the water, which you hope the kid does.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be one that I'll definitely be watching. I mean, now you can't help but watch, right? Because he's on the radar now.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to talk about, Tony Baselli. You played, with him, great offensive lineman. I'm sure he made your life a little easier at times. What was it like? Was Tony really as aggressive as they say? A lot of people who played alongside of him said he was just a monster in the trenches.
You know what? I met Tony when he was a freshman at Colorado, and we were at the Miami at the Playboy All-American weekend in Miami, and if you can imagine a bunch of college age football players hanging out in Miami for the weekend, on Hugh Hefner's dime. If in your mind you can somehow imagine, what's going on there, right? What's going on there, and then you see, a big baby-faced giant, Tony Baselli kind of sitting over in the corner, off to himself, not really saying anything to anybody, right? So I just remember, meeting him and just thinking, that's a big quiet guy, that's a big quiet guy, and then you get a chance to see his progression from freshman All-American to dominant collegiate football player, being drafted. I don't know if he was a number 1 pick or number 2 pick, but being drafted as high as he was, and then having a chance to actually go down and play with him and see him work. And he was definitely very physical, definitely very aggressive, dominant force out there. I love playing with Baselli. He's one of those guys that he's one of those guys that you feel safe with, right? I tell guys all the time, I like hanging around my O-linemen because I just feel safe with my O-line. Like I didn't need all 5, to feel safe hanging around Baselli. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
I love playing with Baselli.
And in that game, like I mentioned, the 96 wildcard game against the Buffalo Bills, I mean, he dominated Bruce Smith. I mean, that was an incredible performance.
Yeah, I think that was his hello world moment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
well, hey, Natron, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and speak with me again. Want to thank you again for all the great memories as a longtime Jags fan. Really appreciate it. You made it just fun to watch and really exciting.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. No problem.
All right.
Thanks for having me again.
Let me get that. JYD coming up with the big sack. Quarterbacks beware, we on the prowl. Game day night, you could hear it in our growl. Intimidation on to keep their hearts racing. Eating other teams live on TV front of the nation. Spectacular defensive scheme.
This episode is available on the Jaguar Podcast YouTube channel. So if you stop by, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Also, these episodes are available on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and other major podcast distributors as well. So if you don't mind, please leave me a review and some feedback. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is @JagwarPodcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. This is Andrew signing off. Cheers.